It's field trip day for Ohio Racing. Coming to see one of our members who is not often on camera, but he's got a lot of awesome stuff for us to check out. And we're here in his yard of awesome stuff to do just that. So here he is. It's Keegan.
Hi,
That's him.
It's me.
Right there. So before we get into the collection that is all around us that you can't see yet, talk about like where your passion for cars comes from and how it ends up in such a diverse collection.
So growing up, I started off with like small engine stuff, like small weed whackers, leaf blowers, and whatnot. And my dad had always had like old stuff laying around for me to tinker with, and that slowly progressed to me wanting to get into like lawn tractors, garden tractors, because grew up in the country and people did garden tractor pulling, and that's something I wanted to do. And
mud mowers and the like.
Absolutely. So I got into one specific mower. It was just like one problem after another with it, and that kind of got me into the whole mechanics of stuff.
Right.
Had a buddy of mine, he gave me a car for free. It was an 86 town car. And that's kind of where the slippery slope started. And so that's kind of how I got into the whole car scene. And then I don't know, just started getting more and more cars
from town cars to Toyotas to Luminas, Lumina vans, and All right, well, let's just take a look at all of them, and then y'all can see what they are. All right, so what are you currently leaning on?
So this is an 86 Lincoln Continental. It's part of the Foxbody family. Picked it up locally about a year or so ago. Picked it up for about $500. No title. The guy tried getting the title for it, but unfortunately when he bought it, one of the people who signed the title had died, so the DMV gave him a bunch of crap. He was like, I just want it gone.
Right on.
The reason I bought it, again, it was cheap. It's the same year as my town car was, of my first car, and it's the same color. It's the medium regatta blue metallic.
Medium regatta blue metallic.
So I was like, you can't beat a $500 Lincoln.
No.
Same drivetrain.
No.
It's theoretically better than a town car.
Right.
But
and your previous Lincoln was just a couch on wheels.
Yeah.
I mean, you could take it anywhere, and just everybody would be comfortable. And it's a fully loaded, like you said, Foxbody. It's underneath this, it's a Foxbody.
Yep, this is one of the very few four-door Foxbodies that they made. And as such, like, you can bolt Mustang parts onto it.
I'll open the doors and I can just get inside and see the motor and whatnot.
Yeah, it's a little torn up. She's got...
Well, that's the way they are.
186,000 miles on it.
That's not bad for 186,000. It could be a lot worse.
It's crazy mileage for one of these, but... so...
Yeah, that it has made it that far? Yeah, right. Yeah, that makes sense.
So it does show the motor and transmission are like a little underpowered and tired, but I mean,
what motor is it?
This is a 302. It is the standard output 302. It's not the high output that the Mustang's got.
Sure. Truck motor, kind of.
Maybe not. I call it the car motor. The trucks had a big intake.
Did they? It still says 5.0.
Yeah, it's pretty much a Foxbody under here. So I've done very minimal maintenance to just bushings, brakes, whatnot, spark plugs.
Just getting it going and keeping it going?
Yeah, just, things you should do when you buy a car.
Yeah, right on. Yeah.
So, but it really, it's been a great car.
Yeah, I really like this car. I've watched it autocross, and it, boy, does it ever lean.
There are some shots where I thought the tire was going to come off the rim because of the sidewall flex.
I mean, it's not your standard autocross fare, but you know what? It does it. And any car will do it. That's the thing that people don't really consider, is that any car can do it as long as you know what you're doing. As long as you know your own limits. And you know the limits of the car.
And that's why I like taking cars out there. I can figure out what their limits are. And plus, it's fun seeing like regular cars out there, because autocross has gotten to the point where people purpose build cars.
Right. Yeah. It's the safest place to figure out the limits of your car. For sure. So.
Yeah.
All right, well, let's move on to vans.
The vans.
Yeah, I think we should do that.
I got 3 of them. There's 1, 2, and then there's the third one in the backyard.
3 Chevy Lumina vans.
Yep, I got 2 Lumina APVs, and then this is a Pontiac Transport. So
all of the Dustbuster shape.
The reason I got into them, I'll start there. Growing up, my neighbor had one of these. Theirs was street sign green, as I call it. It was a very vivid green.
I remember that green.
That's kind of why I wanted one. It's just kind of like the nostalgia. That and some of these vans came with the 3800, the infamous 3.8 that GM put in like everything. In the, And I wanted to take one of these and put a supercharged motor in it. However, this one will not be the candidate of it. That's not the one. Because it's a northern Wisconsin car. And as such, even though it looks beautiful on the outside, because it's all plastic, the undersides are just gone, like it's enough to hold together, but it's like it's not worth doing anything to.
Just standing at that angle that I was standing at kind of gives me Volvo 850 wagon vibes, but it's just, you know, a lot bigger.
If we can take a look at the insides.
Just well, you can get one as a representative example. Is this the best interior you've got?
It's close. It's the cleanest.
Oh damn, it is clean.
Yeah, so the previous owner of this,
does it smell like a trip to the pool in the summertime?
I wish,
because that's what I would imagine it would smell like, but it doesn't.
Got some Toyota parts back there.
I see that. Yep, that makes sense. Look at all the seats in here.
Yeah, it's got all seven seats.
That's awesome.
They're removable too, so you can use it as like a cargo van.
Yeah, no doubt.
That's kind of what I wanted to do. I wanted to tow with it instead of towing hitch and, you know, put stuff inside. But
yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, the lady who had it, they kept like seat covers on it for its entire life, so that's why the seats are in like great shape.
Right.
So
that's awesome. That's so cool. It's definitely a period piece for sure.
Yep.
And this is period as well.
The plaid,
whatever's happening here.
Good old GM. And all the headliners are tacked up out of the way.
Oh yeah. Well, I mean, you've done a nice job there. That's very nice. Looks factory.
Yeah. Yeah, you'd never know.
Yeah, never know unless you looked up.
This was the first one I bought because I was like, well, it's available for cheap. It's $600. It ran and drove, but the transmission had a unwanted inspection hole in the back of it. So that's the one I'm working on right now in the garage. The interior's kind of beat up. Like it's been in a couple accidents.
Yeah, it's currently missing something.
Just a little something.
Yeah, it's got a little bit of a rake to it though. Yeah. That's nice.
Yeah, it's got them visible wheels.
Yeah, but definite muscle car rake going on.
Absolutely.
There. It does kind of give you the picture of like, what if you lowered one?
Yeah. You know? It looks pretty good in my opinion.
It wouldn't be too bad, honestly, if you lowered it down. Oh, the burn barrel's on wheels.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I can roll it around.
Yeah, that's good.
Yeah, catch my neighborhood on fire. So this is the 96 Lumina. At this point, they were just called Luminas. This one has a 3.4 SFI engine. Makes more power than the 3.8, but less torque. So it's I don't know, it feels more van-y, if that makes sense. Like, you know, the transport's very torquey. This one is like, this was an old couple's car, and I think they used it to travel between here and Florida.
That makes sense.
And it's got about 160,000 miles on it. Spotless. There's not a speck of rust anywhere on this thing. Like top, bottom, no sun fade, nothing. Like the interior's in great shape, minus the headliner, of course.
Right. Yeah.
It's got that wonderful red, like dark red GM interior.
Yep.
So it's
burgundy.
Burgundy.
Ron Burgundy.
Yep. Bought it from an estate sale. They told me they would overnight the title. It's been a month now, and like the lady lives out in California now, and the van title's in Florida. And it's like, I don't know what to do. So that's why it's kind of sitting back here in the corner of shame.
I see.
So
mechanically,
mechanically it's perfect.
Nice.
I probably got a little bit of some old gas in it from sitting, but when I got it, they put like new battery in it. The tires are brand new, fresh oil. Like they spiced it up for the estate sale.
Right, yeah. You get that title. This seems like the one to keep, isn't it?
It's got an aftermarket hitch on it, and I looked up the tow rating. They say it can tow 3,000 pounds. If I tow with it, I'm going to put a trans cooler on it because, you know, these transmissions are not great.
Not great. Yeah. The bummer is that a rental trailer weighs so much. Like the U-Haul trailers weigh about 2,000 to begin with.
Yeah, I'm going to look for a dolly. I've seen them pop up on Marketplace, like, you know, the ghetto ones for like $500.
And honestly, I think a dolly plus one of your Tercels is under 3,000 pounds.
It is.
Pretty easily.
Yeah, the Tercels are like 1,800 pounds.
Just stay on the flats.
Yeah. Yep. So
you'll be all right.
But the cool thing about this one too is it has air ride self-leveling suspension in the back.
No way.
Yeah.
Huh.
Which is unusual for Chevys.
Look at that. Look at it. It's almost brown. It's so dark red. Oh, she is dark burgundy. Man, it's nice.
Yeah.
It's really nice.
Yeah, it's got front and rear AC too.
Doesn't smell bad. Smells like old people. Look like some of the fabrics and stuff might be unattaching, but the plastics are all still good, and they're all still in one piece.
Yeah, they didn't really use the same kind of like rubber that the Pontiac had.
Right.
So.
Oh, boy. This looks like a nightmare.
Yeah. Boy, let me tell you, this is my first time doing a cradle out without a hoist or just even in general. It has been.
How did you manage to get that up over top of this to get it out? Just
so I got a hoist, and there's a steel I-beam that goes between those.
That works.
6x or whatever, and it comes over and goes straight into the concrete. It's not the best solution, but what I did is I hooked into the front of the van with the hoist, and I just started lifting, and I had the cradle with three jacks, and just raise it up and lower that out. And, it came out. I don't know if it'll go back in.
I've taken an engine hoist like this one.
Yeah.
And lifted the front end of a Mark I Rabbit up.
Yeah.
That's easy.
Same same concept, but the van weighs a lot more.
Gigantic van.
Yeah. So insane. Yeah, so the theory on this is a TH125. When I got it, I pulled in the driveway and put in park. There's no more park. So my guess is the parking pawl. I think this was a rebuilt trans, and I think what happened was that parking pawl came out and got sucked into the transmission and blew it up. So
I see.
So I've sourced another transmission. I put a shift kit in it. It's really a shift corrector.
Shift kit.
Yeah. Big air quotes.
Right.
I went through the motor, gaskets, bearings, seals. It was a very sludgy, but the bores are immaculate. They look brand new.
Nice.
With 200,000 miles on it.
That's crazy.
It's kind of a testament to GM's or Buick's engine. This is getting ready. I just need to flop the wiring harness back on it. The GM made it super modular, so you just unplug two massive connectors and that's it.
I see.
So I just got to flop it back on top of the motor
and then which one of these vans goes back down on top of this?
The blue one.
This one is just going to go right back down on it.
Yep. Okay. So, like I said, I bought this one because it was the first one that popped up, and then I ended up getting two more.
Yeah.
So more than likely, I'm going to fix this one, make sure it doesn't leak, have any issues, and then I'm just going to sell it.
Sell it on, yeah.
I got someone that's interested, and I don't need three vans, but if I did keep it.
You don't?
You
don't?
If I did keep, I'd probably cut the coils on it and throw a cam in it. The 2.8, 3.1, and 3.4. There used to be a huge scene for these back in the day.
Really?
A lot of GM cars had them, but this is like the worst variant of it because it's an iron head with TBI and they're just junk.
No good. What about that?
Yeah, so I'm buried back here. This is a 78 Honda Goldwing. It's a GL 1000. 26,000 miles. This last summer I took it up to Colorado, up the rocky roads, and made it to 12,500 feet up on top of a mountain. It's a great bike. I've had to go through everything on it as any old bike goes.
Right. Yeah.
So it's just kind of sitting in here hibernating from the
real cool. It just weighs probably as much as that van.
They're 500 pounds dry, I think.
So really? That's not too bad.
I think wet they're like 600. It's a little more than my last bike I had, but so it's like 72 horse, I think.
It'll move that weight down the road for sure. What is it?
All right, so this, and if I remember the year of it, I believe this is an 85 Toyota Tercel 4-wheel drive.
Yeah.
This has been my third 4-wheel drive wagon. This particular one, when I got it, the transmission was in bad shape. The engine smoked real bad. I ended up taking apart the transmission, fixing it, and found out it had the wrong differential ratio in it because the front and backs have to match or they bind up.
Oh, okay.
So I found out at some point in its life it had a junkyard transmission put in it.
I see.
And it had water in it, so some of the bearings were shot. So that was fun. Got up and running. And this was kind of the platform for me to learn how to turbocharge, a car.
Right, yeah.
So I made a real backyard turbo build using this wagon. And it worked fine until I think it was about 2 gallons of wiper fluid made it into the crankcase.
Oh.
Yeah.
Wiper fluid.
Wiper fluid. My turbo setup, some people, it's called meth injection. Regular wiper fluid, like -20 stuff that's usually blue, is 70% water and 25 to 30% methanol.
Ah.
It is great for controlling detonation, which the stock engine loved to do because it really didn't want to be turbocharged.
Sure, yeah.
So I had an injection set up through a tiny misting nozzle. Well, at the time, I had this car parked at the end of the driveway, which pointed it down, and it started siphoning into the crankcase.
Damn.
it would like go into the intake tube, into the intake, and it just like snaked its way down into the crankcase one day.
Yeah.
And I took it around the block and started getting like gray slime out of the breather. And I'm like, it's probably not supposed to do that. As of right now, the reason it has this hood scoop is because it has a 7A GE in it. It's a 1.8 block. It's using the 7A FEs, and it's got a 4A GE head. Because this engine used to be in my yellow Tercel. Yeah. And I really liked it in that one, but in this one, it's just like, it wasn't fantastic.
Not the proper motivation.
Yeah, it's like, I don't know. The two shoes just didn't fit right.
Yeah. This is kind of why we're here and why Keegan's on the team, because he's like Dr. Mad Science. Like, you've taken that, like, small engine mentality of like, well, I can put this on that and do this with that and do this with that, and you just apply it to cars where the rest of us would be like, what? Like, why did you? And I mean, a 7A GE, the book's kind of written on that, and you can, you can look those up and build those. But like a 7A GE turbo methanol injection through the windshield, like that's all that stuff that you try. That the rest of us would be like, does it work? How much taller is the 7A than a 4A?
It's not a matter of the motor; it's the matter of the intakes that are the big problem. What makes this one kind of unique is I'm running a Holley Sniper 2300 on it, which is just the 2-barrel.
Yeah.
And it worked. I had kind of like a lot of problems with it, just like tuning and like a short computer out and I have to send it in and just a lot of problems with it. Like it runs, but like honestly, I kind of wish I would have stuck to multi-port. Yeah, this was my third wagon and probably going to be my last one. I'm not, parts are getting kind of
too keen on them anymore.
Yeah, I mean, like parts are kind of drying up and you blow up a transmission. It's just like you're screwed at that point. Like, you know, I'm not going to get away from Tercels, but like I'm kind of done with like the 4-wheel drive scene.
Oh, Richard, he has the white one that's supercharged and whatnot. I think he kind of feels the same as like it's just a fun thing to drive around and whatnot.
Yeah.
And it's what kind of got him into cars, but it's not necessarily, you know.
There's better things out there.
Yeah, right. There's much more beyond the next stop.
It's like they're fun to fart around with, but like overall in today's car, like I don't want to say car scene, but like they're not good cars anymore.
Right, yeah.
Like they were good for their time. They're great for what they can do.
And let's be honest too, Tercels were always a throwaway car.
Yeah,
it was like the bottom of the barrel, and it's shocking that these exist in the form that they do, because that most of them just rotted away and got crushed and whatever, because Toyota made them to be kind of a throwaway car. You've told me a lot of stuff, and I've heard stuff from Richard and seen stuff about, compared to even a Corolla. Yeah. Some of the stuff they did was just like bargain basement, you know, so they could have a world car that they would just spit out, get millions of them. Yep. And then people would buy them and then throw them away eventually and come back and buy another one.
You know, even the 4-wheel drive ones, I believe at the time they did cost a little more than your basic pickup, but like, you know, you could get a more capable vehicle like a 4Runner or a pickup at the time.
Yeah, right. Right.
You know, I think they got in the 4-wheel drive scene because I think like Subaru, they had their 4-wheel drive wagon and
they thought we could do that too.
Yeah. So this is an 81 SR5 trim package. The SR5 were the hatchbacks only. I kind of got into the first gens with my yellow 2-door. I actually traded my 86 town car for it. And I drove that yellow 2-door all the way back home. Somehow made it, even though it was like overheating and tires were going flat the whole time.
Yeah. The yellow 2-door was where the 7AG lived originally. Yeah,
not to get in that one. The yellow one died because the previous like 4 owners used the back of it to feed cows out of, and it just like the hay mixed with the spray foam that somebody put back there to try and fix the rust, just like rotted the whole back of the car out. It was just too far gone.
Good note, because I got a whole bunch of spray foam ready to go in the MR2.
Absolutely. Right now. Yeah, it'll get you about 3 years.
Yeah, that's fine.
So
I only need about 3 years.
So the reason I got into these first gens is because they use the same drivetrain as the second gens, minus some like minor modifications, you know, older emissions and whatnot. But this was Toyota's first front wheel drive car. Yeah, this is where it started. And they're loosely based off the Corolla at the time. As such, they have the rear wheel drive bolt pattern, even though they're front wheel drive.
Right.
So I got into the first gens from the yellow one, and then like I had always wanted an SR5 hatch. That's like was my end goal. And I wanted one in black with the alloys, but you know, it's like finding hen's teeth.
Yeah,
I've seen
how many times in life of any car do you find the upper-ended cheap economy car?
The
They're so hard to find.
Cheap car,
right? Unless it's a Corolla DX, which there are a million of those in the world, like A101 or whatever. But every other upper-ended cheap car doesn't exist because everybody wanted a cheap car. Not the hot cheap car. You know?
And it's so weird because like if you look at the dichotomy of these cars, you will find like the top end ones, and you will find the absolute base model ones still. Because like the yellow one was a base model, had vinyl floors, 4-speed, like no radio. It was strange. So I wanted one of these SR5s, and a kid I knew locally had it. He picked it up, and he was trying to get like carburetor advice. He's like, yeah, it just like doesn't run right. Can you help me with it? And I was like, buy a Weber. You know, these factory carbs just aren't great, like especially when they don't work right, because like at this point they all need to be rebuilt, and it's kind of a dying art to rebuild these carburetors. And he kept like farting around and like just never did anything with it. And I went over to his place one day to look at it, and I was like, well, would you ever sell it? Because like I've always wanted one of these. And he's like, yeah. He's like, well, how much would you offer? And so I drove it home doing like 35 miles an hour, carburetor just like not doing carburetor things.
Doing the things it's supposed to be doing.
It was about an 1.5 hour trip back, just slow. Got it home. It also had transmission problems, bad bearing. So dropped it, replaced the bearing, put it back together, rebuilt the carburetor on it. Took very meticulous notes on how it came apart and cleaned it up and put it back together. And now it runs great. Like, it's an awesome car.
I gotta get a shot of this too. I forgot the cool logo.
So
do you know? I know that like Celica means dragon or whatever.
So
what is Tercel?
I may be wrong. It's, I believe, like a male falcon. I believe.
Yeah, okay, that makes sense.
It's a type of bird.
So okay.
So yeah, they only use it on these first gens, which is interesting. But, I did learn somewhat recently the Toyota Harrier, which I think is a bus in Japan or a big van, uses the same logo. That's like a modern thing too. So
you could find maybe swag.
Right. I thought about ordering like the grill emblem, but this is also an '85 Tercel. It's a 2-door hatch. It started its life as an automatic car, and it is now a 4-speed. I believe it has this 4-speed out of the yellow car, just because I knew it was good and it was all together. I had another guy locally reach out to me. He's like, hey, he's like, I think the head gasket's blown. Can you like, well, you know, what kind of advice can you give me to help change it? I'm like, well, if you buy the parts, like, I'll just come do it. Like, I've done it, 15 times. Like, these cars are not known for holding head gaskets down.
4AC?
No, 3A.
3A.
So this is, so these have probably one of the worst A motors. It's a 3A. It's only one step above the 1A that we got.
There's a 1A.
There is a 1A. It came in the first gens. Like, I don't know why, like, some of the cars got 1As and other ones 3As. Because, like, you can have, like, a motley option first gen and have a 1A. And it's, like, some of them, like, base models had a 3A. These had a 3AC, 1.5. 3-speed auto, or base models had 4 speeds, and some had 5 speeds. This is, I think, a DX. It wasn't a stripper car because it's got like carpets and whatnot in it, but it wasn't well optioned either. It was missing the passenger mirror.
So the base model literally had no carpets?
They had vinyl.
Oh, okay. I kind of prefer that, honestly.
This one I got, the guy was like him and Han about doing head gasket, and he disappeared for a couple months. He's like, and he like reappeared. He's like, oh yeah, I tried the head gasket, and like I think it's still leaking. He's like, do you just like want to buy the car? I'm like, not really.
Seems to be the way it goes, I guess.
Like,
these.
I was like, I told him again. I was like, I'll help you change it. He's like, I don't want this car anymore. So yeah, I don't even know if I paid anything for it, or I paid like $100-200 or something for it. So this one's gonna get 4-wheel drive swapped.
Okay.
So there is at least one verified build that somebody did that they've got pictures of, where they did a 4-wheel drive swap, and they used parts from a Suzuki Samurai, because they're about the same size dimensionally.
Yeah.
So I was like, well, I got this 4-wheel drive Tercel with the transmission and an axle. Like the drivetrain's fine in it.
Right.
I was like, I'll just take that drivetrain. I got to cut the rear floor out, add like a reinforcement structure to it. Put in like leaf spring hangers, get some like trailer leaves, and there you go. You got a rear mounted axle.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, doesn't it make sense to take the Tercel stuff and put it in another Tercel?
Yeah, I got my hands on like a Japanese cluster, and it's got the, I think, extra low and the 4-wheel drive light in the actual speedometer itself.
Nice.
The only downside is it's kilometers an hour.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
I'll figure that one out.
That'll be fun, especially with the custom drivetrain and wheels and tires and whatnot. You just have a GPS.
Yeah,
I broke down with Dale and just bought a GPS speedometer because it's just easier to know how fast you're going.
Yeah, inside too. I also have the Tercel inclinometer.
Nice. So, yeah, right. A little car
that tells you how angled your car is.
Right. Yeah.
So
this one. What's this one?
This is also an 81 Tercel. It's first gen. This is a DX trim package. It was a fairly well optioned DX, and what made it DX is it had an automatic initially, and the SR5s could not be had with an automatic.
No SR. That's the whole name.
Sport Rally 5.
Sport Rally 5. Yeah. Doesn't matter anymore. You can put SR5 on whatever you want.
Yep.
Yeah. It used to mean something.
Yeah. Now SR5 is like the bottom trim package.
Right. Yeah. Stuff.
Yeah. This was a DX. I paid $300 for it. It was a rolling shell. When I got it, the story was some guy had it, wanted to do a turbo swap to it, and he had some guy wanted to buy some parts off of it, but he ended up being like a crackhead. He just like stole parts off the car and like cut like the parts of the radiator core out. So it had a bunch of weird parts missing, but like it wasn't anything critical, because at the time I had a complete parts car, and 2, I was going to put a completely different motor in it and manual swap it. I've always wanted to build a turbo 4AGE. I've had the motor for the longest time. It was originally supposed to be in a wagon, and then it was supposed to go in the yellow car, and then I finally bit the bullet and dropped it in this one. It's a long road to build it and make sure you build it right.
Is this the block you bought from me? Or was that one trash?
No, that was the one I bought from you a couple years ago.
It was in a red FX16 that I scrapped.
Yeah.
That I wasn't sure if it was an actual like legit
I don't think it was a GE block. I think it was an FE.
Right.
They went 6-bolt crank, and
they went to the junkyard and bought a 4A FE and slapped the head down on it and whatever. It was just sort of an unknown quantity.
So yeah, this got a lot of the parts from my yellow car. It got the completely adjustable suspension. I had built coilovers. And then it's got adjustable shocks in the back.
Yeah, let's not make light of the fact that you built coilovers for it.
Yeah,
I
built.
Not exist, so. Yeah, you came over. We did that.
Yeah, that was very nerve-wracking, because it's like everything needs to be perfect. Everything needs to be straight.
Yep.
Yeah.
Them sweet seats.
Yeah, these seats are out of a Polaris Razor. Guy had them for sale.
That's awesome.
He was selling them because he was just a little too big for him, because the bowstring is actually pretty tight on them.
Yeah.
They're not for plus-sized Americans.
Here
it is. So it's a kind of quick specs here. So it's a FE block with a big port blue top head, presumably from like an MR2 or something. Custom made manifold. There's a guy in down Florida that handmade that. There's only a couple of those like in existence, probably under 5. The intake manifold is I think it's from MRP. It's just a regular, well-known intake. Man, it's got them max speeding rod, connecting rods.
Right, yeah, the connecting rods.
And then it's got Trom pistons in it. Trom, yeah. They took over for somebody that used to make like quality pistons for these motors. It's a well-built motor. It doesn't have a forged crank that I think the supercharged have. It's just got regular FE crank. Modified flywheel to fit a 200 mil 4AGE clutch. Right. It's got a coil pack conversion. The ECU is a Megasquirt 3X. It's a revision 3. It's the one that you can hand build.
Okay.
I figured I'm like industrial certified for soldering.
Yeah,
so it's like I was like, why not?
Yeah, he can solder a thing or two.
Yeah.
So yeah, why not wire some?
Yeah,
why not wire up your own computer?
Yeah, boy, let me tell you, I kind of wish I would have bought the pre-made one.
Something plug and play.
It was a lot of work putting that computer together. And it's like,
Sure.
if you don't buy their proprietary tester, it's called a GemStim. It's like you build it and you're like, well, I hope it works.
Yeah.
I ended up sending it off to a buddy out in Jewel, Kansas. His name's Nick Pauls.
Oh, yeah, Nick.
Old Nick, yep. And he tested it. He's like, yep, works fine. Boy, let me tell you, it's been one nightmare after another with this thing. It's burned out multiple injector drivers in the computer for no apparent reason. Nobody knows why. It just did it 3 different times. It's had injectors fail. And then most recently, I've had bad batch coil packs. The turbo is a weird combination between a Mitsubishi Eclipse turbo and an Isuzu NPR truck turbo.
Oh. I
initially had an Isuzu turbo that I bought. It was rebuilt. It was actually in really bad shape, but it was claimed to be rebuilt. And I found the Eclipse housing because the regular turbo would point right at the block.
Is this what you're driving currently, or?
When it's nice out,
nice,
I don't. The potential to have heat is there. I'm using I'm using a vacuum-based coolant valve from a first gen Corvette for my heater core.
Wow.
Yeah. I didn't know it was for a Corvette, so I actually looked it up, the part number. They're like, yeah, it's for a 56 Corvette or whatever. It's like, all right. But I don't have it hooked up right now because I don't know what it's going to do under boost. I don't want to cram 14 pounds of boost into this vacuum valve and it just like blows the diaphragm out.
Right.
So,
you did put good tires on it, 615s or the
660K plus
615K. That's what they are.
Yeah, 615K plus. When autocross rolls around, I'll probably take these out one last time just to kind of get a feel for it, and then I swap them around.
Yeah. So on those killer wheels.
Yeah, and I got custom center caps made.
You did. Look at that.
Yeah, that was a nightmare and a half to get those. Other mods I would like to do at some point is I need an under chassis brace. When you, I know this is not really an autocross problem, but when you peg the speedometer, you can feel the chassis like start twisting in the middle back and forth. And it's like, this feels like it's going to break in half. Theoretical horsepower. I've talked to the 4AG guru about it. Dan Steinhardt, I believe. He said with my setup, I've got like high compression pistons and whatnot in it. And he's like, the motor is about the same as a small port, which is about 130 horse. And he's like, I'm running about 13 pounds of boost. So with the boost, I'm probably pushing about 240 crank horse.
Wow.
Which is a lot more than the 62 crank horse.
Yeah. Than the transmission ever thought it would see.
Yeah. The transmission's been fine. I haven't had any issues. It's not uncommon to see one of these cars with like 200,000 miles. You know, the synchros wear out, and guess what? There's no synchros left for these transmissions.
Right. Yep.
So, but yeah, I'm not like slamming it through gears and doing clutch drops. Like I'm trying my best to like be easy on this thing so it doesn't like explode.
To be clear, for the uninitiated, but you know, if you're here, you probably know Tercels pretty well, but the transmission goes back that way, obviously, because the motor sits this way, and then it drives the two front wheels. So it's almost like a VW transaxle or a French car or
or Legend or Saab or whatever.
Yeah, right. Toyota's first crack at the front wheel drive stuff, and they thought, why don't we, we got engines. They can go in that way, and we'll just make the transmission,
Yeah, when they discontinued the four-wheel drive Tercel in '88, they're like, all right, we're done making parts. Like, good luck.
I can do that, yeah. And there's like a new, there's an AE86, like restoration program now. They're making new parts, and what this is never.
Never be
the
on
FX,
the
they're never gonna get on the list. It's a bummer, but I'm glad you're keeping them alive, and it's whenever I see a Tercel, I know the guy to call, right? To say that it is for sale or whatever, or like I don't understand what it is. Why does it exist? And then I can ask you, and then you'll tell me. Yeah, I'll hop in, fire it up, and I'll get that shot.
I gotta go get my key.
Oh.
Good.
Yep. Contact. Maybe.
It's cold out.
Oh, it's very cold.
Very particular.
Away.
it's still reading.
Look at that contraption.
Yeah, it takes a minute to start reading.
What's the pad here? What is this like a? What is this thing?
It's just a China Android radio. It's nothing great. No, nothing special now. It's reading.
But it works specifically with the
Omega Square. Yeah.
Okay.
The computer's living in there.
Yep. So. There it is.
Yeah. So yeah, it's an app specifically designed to talk with the computer.
I see.
I try my best not to use reverse gear because I gotta fix my clutch pedal.
That is ridiculous.
Problem probably doing autocross on it is keeping the tires like stuck to the ground.
Right.
Like, this thing will absolutely spin tires.
Right. That's why you need those 660s. And then they still won't stick. The right pressures will help, but not much. So it does not spin both wheels, right?
No.
You gotta
It is open.
very much open diff. And nobody's making a limited slip for this thing.
I had somebody offer to make one, but
yeah. It's I kind of am of the opinion that if you can drive this thing, you could drive just about anything. Like it's insane, man. That is a lot of power in a really light chassis.
Honestly, it's probably approaching like too much power.
Right, yeah. How's the brakes?
I mean, they're not as stiff as like the yellow ones were.
Yeah, man, they were. Stopping that yellow one was like trying to stop a bus or something. It was insane.
Yeah, I had no booster on that one for space reasons, but this one, it's powered, but
yeah,
they could be better.
I hadn't noticed. Good God. Hard to just keep it going straight.
Yeah, I try not to lean into the throttle and turning because like it'll understeer.
That is torque steer for sure.
Snaps,
yeah, 100% huge torque steer. That was awesome. God, this thing just rips. Yeah, if you can figure out how to keep the tires down, I think you'll have a chance at actually doing something well at autocross. So you're gonna race some more this year?
I'm gonna try.
Yeah, and you should. This one?
Probably, yeah.
Okay.
Unless they let me race the van.
You got your own YouTube channel?
Yeah.
And I'll link that in the description.
Yep.
To make sure that people can watch them videos. And, I think we'll have plenty of days where we're all out racing, and then we'll just combine the video efforts. But you're always building. I would say that like my normal strategy now, or the strategy I'm trying to stick to, is the, build, race, break, and repeat, right?
Yeah.
Because I don't have enough time to do cool build-ups and whatnot. I just have to like fix it so I can go racing and then do it again.
Yep.
Which you're probably on pretty much the same schedule too. So we'll see if we can cram some of that stuff into some videos later on this season. Hopefully see out and
hopefully it doesn't launch a rod out the block or there's gears everywhere from transmission. That's just my goals. Like I built this for autocross, and I'm not expecting to win anything with it. I just Turbo Tercels and autocross, like that sounds fun.
What class do you put it in when you run?
Man, I don't think anybody knows.
Yeah, right.
I asked once, and everybody's like, "We don't know."
It doesn't matter. Yeah, right. It's about the fun of the thing.
Yeah.
And once again, any of these cars that you've shown today, except for maybe the Vans, because they said you couldn't autocross them.
Yeah.
For whatever dumb reason.
They're 2 inches too tall.
Yeah, right. They're too tall. All right. Well, that'll probably do it. And now it's the end of the thing.
Absolutely.
Yeah, we did it. Thanks, man.
Anytime.